Just go quietly so you don't disrupt the vibe. Okay? Yeah?
I'm really honored to be here, and I appreciate that introduction, Jean. I also wanted to say that when I chose the song Christmas in the Trenches, I had no idea how long it was. So as we all know this, tomorrow is Christmas Day. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. And there's something about Christmas that makes it feel like a day outside of time. And so what we do on that day, or what we do to mark the holiday, feels significant. And we all know the different rituals. We're very familiar with them, regardless of whether we do them, or whether we do just some of them, or whether we do none of them. Buying gifts, stringing lights, decorating, putting up a Christmas tree, especially if you have kids in your house, going to parties. Some people go to religious services. Some people avoid them. This is a holiday of immense proportion, but it doesn't mean everybody observes it. I have some friends who go to a Chinese restaurant on Christmas Day every year as part of their non-observance of Christmas. But that's the thing. It's so large, this holiday is so large, in the collective imagination, that you have to have alternative rituals if you want to step aside from it. So today, if I can get my voice to work, I'm going to talk about the symbolism of Christmas, the underlying feel of it, and the meaning that we create through all of these things that we do. And my interpretation of this symbolism might be different from yours. So just as Kathy McGuire said last week when she was talking about the solstice, take from it the things that the meaning you take from it, and just let the rest dissipate. So we know our traditions around Christmas. We know what they are, but we really don't know where they come from. That's the funny thing about it, and it's true of other holiday observations as well, or holiday observances and rituals. Yeah. So, take Easter, for example. Carl Jung, the famous psychoanalyst, once imagined people from a foreign country coming to Switzerland, where he lived, on a holiday. The holiday he imagined was Easter, and the visitors were from India. They were invited to a family's house, and when they arrived, the host and hostess were out in the backyard, running around with the children, looking under the shrubbery. And when the visitors asked, what was going on, they were told, it's Easter, this is an Easter egg hunt. This is what we do on Easter because the Easter bunny comes and brings eggs and hides them under bushes. So what's this rabbit you're talking about? The visitors asked. Do you worship this rabbit? And why does a rabbit hide eggs under bushes? And the hosts kind of shrugged and basically said, which is what we would say, well, that's the custom. And to them, the question was, seemed a little pointless and unanswerable. So we don't know exactly why there's an Easter bunny or why we hide eggs, just like we don't know why exactly we bring a tree into the house at Christmas and why we put gifts under that tree. And we don't even know where Santa Claus comes from. We might try to answer those questions by looking at history. We might find some source that says, well, the custom of Christmas trees came from Germany in the 1800s, and it caught on, people liked it, it spread. Or we might read that Santa Claus comes from St. Nicholas, who was a Christian bishop in AD 200-something. Or we might read that Dutch children 100 years ago started putting stockings up on the fireplace for gifts to be put in them by St. Nicholas. But if we pursue that line of questioning, basically it's unsatisfactory. We're really looking under the wrong bush. The fact is, these traditions are like the stuff of legend, and the origin of a legend is always obscure. These rituals have found a home because they express something that needs expressing. And that's profound and deep enough that we keep doing it. One other tradition at Christmas that I did not mention is that people go home. And that's especially true of college students and perhaps young adults. When Wade and I had young children, we spent Christmas Eve at his parents' house, and then we had Christmas at our house in the morning with Santa Claus, and then we got in the car and drove all the way to Alabama to my mother's house. So we made it to several homes. But people are always traveling home at Christmas. And just this past week, I listened to a very poignant song I had never heard before. The name of it was Driving Home for Christmas. And it was about a man on a freeway trying to get home on Christmas Eve, but there was a lot of traffic around, and there were all these lights from the car, the brake lights in front of him in the dusk, and he was just filled with this sort of intensity, like, oh, I gotta get there. But then he began to look around at the people in the cars around him, and he realized, well, everybody, they're all feeling that way too. And his feeling was just not only this intensity of, I got to get there in time, but it was also, you could tell from the song, there was a feeling of apprehension. It was like he didn't really quite know, once he got there, was it all going to go well, He's had some ambivalence, some mixed feeling. So there was a sort of poignancy about that. So it made me think that our deepest sense of home always has an intensity to it. It's not just about the family house. At bottom, it's about how we're grounded in the world, about where we spring from, our earliest loves and longings, about our connection to the people we love and the place we come from. It's about our place in the world, our very existence. So there's always a longing, and there's always the knowledge that life is never going to be the perfection that we would like. It's never going to match our full expectations. The word train wreck comes to mind. So, it's no accident to me that Christmas is celebrated just after the darkest days of the year. It's right after the solstice, the time when the nights are getting longer and longer, till finally there's the longest night, and then the light starts coming back again. So Christmas is a moment where we hold these two thoughts together. We celebrate the lightness of Christmas because we understand the darkness that exists. So a moment ago, we sang that long song about Christmas in the trenches, and you now know the story, so I won't go into it. But the fact is, after that moment of communal gathering together of adversaries, they went back to war again the next day. So here, right next to each other, is the best that's in us and the worst that's in us. And it underlines how we fail as people, as human beings, to resolve conflict. We see the harm and the suffering that we inflict on each other, but we also see our potential to transcend that. We talk about peace, but as human beings, we don't know how to accomplish it, either on a global scale, or individual to individual, or even peace within ourselves. And right now, we face a lot of problems that we've made. There's climate change, there's war, as we have mentioned, and there's technology that seems to be spiraling out of our control sometimes. But the fact is, even though some of these things the particulars are new, this is nothing new. It's a very old story. And it even makes me think about an ancient story about one brother who was eating with his brother, and he got so mad at him, he stood up and lashed out and accidentally killed him. And that was, the story of Cain and Abel from way, way back. So that really, in my mind, is the dark before Christmas. That's the longest night of the year. That's the sense of this huge expanse of snow lying on the ground and the frozen world in the dark of night. And then what happens? Santa Claus comes. Where does he come from? Well, the North Pole. And yeah, it's a real geographical place, but really it's a mythical place. It's the top of the world. It's the frozen north. He comes from the ends of the earth, traveling under the stars, through the cold and dark. He flies above all the cities and towns. He can see the chimneys of the houses sticking up. He can see the steeples of the churches sticking up as he looks down. He comes to each house with children inside, and he enters the chimney of all places. And you know, the chimney is a part of the house that it touches the earth, it touches the ground, it's the foundation, but it goes all the way up, sticking into the sky. And it's like a church steeple. It's part of a building, but it goes up. So, you know, in my mind, it's aspirational. It tries to connect heaven and earth in some way. But anyway, Santa Claus goes down into the chimney. And I don't think it's any accident that he makes a strange kind of entrance and goes down right where the fire is, the fireplace. The hearth used to be the heart of the house. It's that place of warmth and light. It's the place where before, you know, they had other kinds of heating, the whole family gathered around for warmth and light. And there's another thing about the hearth and fire. Fire has always been a symbol of transformation. I mean, it literally transforms matter into energy. You know, you light a piece of wood, and after a little while, there's nothing left but ash. And what it has gone to is immense heat and light. So, transformation. And the other thing is, Santa Claus even wears a flame red suit, if you really want to extend the symbolism. So Santa comes down the chimney. He's poised on the threshold to step into the living room. The living room it's silent. It's in the dead of night. The tree lights might be on and shining, but it's quiet. There are presents under the tree, kind of hidden treasures waiting to be revealed when you open the presents. And it reminds me of that moment in the ballet, The Nutcracker. After the children have gone to bed, the adults have gone to bed, the living room's quiet, and finally the midnight hour arrives, and the toys and the dolls jump up and dance. It's that moment. This is the witching hour when Santa Claus comes. And that also reminds me of some of the lyrics we just sang, or the lyrics, "O little town of Bethlehem, how still we see thee lie. Above thy deep and dreamless sleep, the silent stars go by. And the hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight." So in a sense, we've entered a timeless place. It's a place that mirrors the whole world. It's a place of deep waiting. It's like we're on the cusp of something. So what are we waiting for? Well, in this silent, mysterious, and magical moment, Santa comes in. He brings gifts. He brings gifts especially to children. He's jolly. He's happy. He brings abundance. He represents a kind of childlike joy and grace and good cheer. He awakens that sense of childlike joy that's lying dormant in the household. In a sense, it's the same thing as the story of a divine child arriving. Now, I see the divine child as an archetype that transcends cultures, a story that has appeared in a number of times and places. One of the common themes of that story is that it is a time of trouble, or that there's some kind of danger and risk involved. But the divine child is bringing something. For example, you may be familiar with the Hindu god, and I may be saying the name wrong, Ganesh or Ganesha, who is a figure of a a boy, but a head of an elephant. So in a sense, this God is a story of a divine child, because when he was born, his head got cut off. One story says that his father was angry and did it, but at any rate, his head was replaced with the head of an elephant, so he's known as the elephant god. I believe his name is literally translated as Lord of the People, and he is a God who removes obstacles, the obstacles we face. Another divine child might be the story of Moses. He was born in a time of persecution. The Israelites were slaves in Egypt, and the Pharaoh had ordered the killing of all newborn boys, Hebrew boys. So Moses' mother put him in a basket and laid it on the Nile, a little, baby in a basket, and so that it would float past where the Pharaoh's daughter was sitting. And her idea was that the daughter would see this little foundling baby and rescue it. And sure enough, that happened. And Moses grew up to become the leader who led the Israelites out of slavery. Jesus of Nazareth was born to parents who couldn't even find a place to lie down and sleep until they found a stable. And then they had to flee into Egypt because the king, Herod, wanted to kill all the babies born at that time, all the male infants, because there had been a prophecy that one would grow up and unseat him. So the divine child is a story about being a figure of hope, being born in the dark days in dark times of difficulty. But that child represents the spark of light that could come into the world. And maybe it represents the stirrings of joy and compassion or wonder, or the ability to greet people with cheer, to embody hope, and to celebrate these things. It's maybe our ability to become a little bit more like a child and feel that joy, that unrestrained joy. And it's about the birth of that potential in us. So the story suggests that this lightness comes to us out of darkness, out of our own depths, and out of a deep human longing. It's our potential for love and joy. Now, I'm about to wrap up, but I haven't said a word about existentialism. Existentialism is a philosophy that was birthed. It grew up in a time when human beings seemed to have lost a certainty that there was meaning in the universe. In the 1800s, the advancements in science challenged so much of what was believed about the world order. And even there was a new scientific understanding that human beings had been created out of a random process of natural selection, rather than being the distinct children of God. So it was a time that it seemed that certainty and meaning had been lost. And existentialism was a philosophy that is all about how human beings can find meaning in our own choices and actions. So what I'm trying to say is that there is meaning, deep symbolic meaning, in our Christmas. We are enacting an ancient story in our own modern way that reminds us that all our troubles, our sorrows, our failures as human beings, that's only one side of the coin. And as sure as the sun comes up, as sure as the old world turns on its axis, we will see the light and beauty and joy that is possible and that is in us. And we celebrate it. So, Merry Christmas.
Well, you all, we have a choice to make. We can do the 12, for the final song, we can do the 12 Days of Christmas, but it has choreography, that's the good part. But it is long, or we can sing Joy to the World again, because it only has 3 verses. So what you want to do? What do you choose to do? Okay, joy to the world it is.
Do the 6 days of Christmas.
Mick said we could do the 6 days of Christmas. 28.
What? We're doing Joy to the World again?
Joy to the world. Page 28.
All right.
Nothing else matters much, not wealth, nor learning, nor even health, without this gift, the spiritual capacity to keep zest in living. This is the creed of creeds, the final deposit and distillation of all important faiths, that you should be able to believe in life. Stick around for food and fellowship. Bye.
Bing. Bing. Wow, I never realized